Hey, good morning, Grace Community Church. Before we get started with our message today, I want to read something from our elder board, and it's a call for our church to enter into a season of fasting and praying. So, in light of the recent deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, we are deeply grieved. In response, the elders of our church are asking us all to enter into a season of fasting and prayer during the month of June. We'll be asking God to bring reform in our legal, political, and social systems so that all people, regardless of race or social status, receive equal justice and protection. We will pray specifically for the African American community that has borne the brunt of injustice and violence in our nation's history. We're praying for grace and mercy over our African American and minority populations, calling on God to help and to give comfort to the anxiety and trauma that many are feeling. We're asking that God would grow an understanding of the hurt that exists and that He would rip apart the racial and unjust systems that have continually divided our nation, and we pray for unity under Christ. We also will be praying for those in law enforcement and in the legal system, some of whom are a part of our church, that they would receive God's grace, mercy, protection, and be able to do their jobs well and pursue justice. Two scriptures that come to mind speak to our approach during this time, and they're from the Old Testament. Isaiah 1:17 says, "Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, and plead the case of the widow." Micah 6:8 says, "He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God." We're going to be fasting on Wednesdays during the month of June, and we'd ask you to first consider fasting from food. And if you fast from food, we'd ask you to consider not eating breakfast or lunch that day and breaking your fast at dinner. If you do this, please make sure you drink plenty of water throughout the day. Now, we know that for some it's not possible to fast for food all day for health reasons, so if that's you, maybe you could fast from social media or television during that same time period. Why are we fasting? Well, fasting is a time where we deny ourselves things that bring us comfort or strength, and we enter into that discomfort to rely on the Lord and to seek Him during that time. So instead of seeking to comfort ourselves, we seek God. We take the time that we would have spent eating or entertaining ourselves, and we turn our hearts to God in prayer. And then during the day when your stomach growls or you want to pull up that screen, use that as a prompt. Use that as a hunger for justice and righteousness, and use that prompt to pray. We're going to ask also in this time that God would make us more sensitive to His voice. Fasting and praying is not just about us speaking to God, but it's about us listening for Him as well. This is a spiritual battle that we're seeing in our country, and it's being revealed in physical actions. And we must first fight with the spiritual weapons of prayer, and then ask God to show us each how to live out the truth of justice, reconciliation, and righteousness in the physical world as well. May God hear our cry and bring His justice and peace. Thank you in advance for joining with us starting this Wednesday.